Hey guys, Steph and I are in Santa Monica at the moment. I'm filming a comparison between the 85 and the 50mm lenses. The 85 I didn't need to buy, but let's not get into that here. Because we're doing this comparison basically at the beach, and I'm going to be changing lenses between the 50 and the 85 regularly to get comparable shots, I thought this is the perfect time to test out this filter that Case had sent out to me, which is a clip-in camera filter. I don't know if you guys knew, but I didn't even know this kind of thing exists. But, you know, some people will use like a multi-coated UV filter on their lens to protect the front of the lens. I typically don't, but what this is I'm already using it. It's inside the camera, behind the back of the lens, in front of the sensor. So essentially, sand, dust, all of that can't get on my sensor. It'll be on that filter. And having recently come to LA, brought along a camera, got the sensor filthy, and then didn't have the tools to be able to clean it. It was just out of action for that trip. The ability to then clip that filter off and then clean it with whatever the hell you want, because it's a UV filter, it seems like a really nice way if you're shooting in this kind of a situation. Yeah. So as we're going through, I'm gonna just include it in this shoot because I want to be able to change lenses with a little bit of carelessness, essentially, whilst we're going through and getting these sunset shots. So I'm going to talk you through how we got it on, what the different options are, all of that good stuff, and see if there's any noticeable detriment to the image quality and whether it might work for your workflow. So look, I'll be honest, the idea of getting my fat fingers anywhere near the sensor makes me a little uneasy, but in the case of my Z8, I can install it over the top of the mechanical sensor cover, which is a bit more reassuring. Case make a variety of different kits. The 4-in-1 set for Nikon that I got includes a multi-coated UV filter, a neutral night filter for cutting light pollution in astrophotography, an ND64 and an ND1000 filter. They're all made of top quality hardened optical glass with the kind of coatings you would expect from a traditional high quality filter that you put on the front of a lens. After all, Case have been in this game for over a decade. The kit comes with all the tools you need to remove and install the filters and a carry case for all of it. It took a minute to put in for the first time because I was a little bit wary given my track record of DIY, but honestly it was easy, and now it literally takes seconds to clip in and out. We shot at the beach and in the desert in LA, and I just left the clip-in filter installed throughout all of it. I didn't notice any decrease in sharpness nor any additional glare issues. Now please note, I routinely run my images through Retouching software to remove skin blemishes and discoloration. You can get a free trial of that below. But I can tell you, having checked out the raw files, I don't see any degradation in image quality using these clip-in filters. After returning to Hong Kong, I've been working on another 4-way lens review for Nikon, looking at the 4 different 50mm Z lenses, the macro, the 1.4, the 1.8 and the 1.2. And for that, I've again been changing lenses in less than ideal circumstances, such as inside my favorite temple that's beautiful but risky because it's full of smoldering incense. And again at the beach out at Cheung Chau Island, this time shooting with honey. So if you're ever like me and you have had the really unfortunate situation where you actually see something like a water drop or a big piece of dirt land on your sensor, you're then stuck with that dilemma of, do I now try to clean it off? I'm rushing, I'm like right now trying to shoot with 4 different lenses in challenging conditions. Knowing that it's just a sensor shield, you could either remove the shield and keep shooting, or at least know that you're not going to do damage to your camera if you do go in there and try and clean the shield, because it's a piece of glass, not a carefully coated sensor. So for me, the peace of mind shooting in these kind of conditions when I need to change lenses next to the ocean, it's worth it. Now, as well as this 4 set that I have for Nikon, they also make them for Sony Alpha, Fujifilm X and GFX, Panasonic and Canon mirrorless cameras. As well as UV and NDs like I've been using, they also have mist and soft focus filters, several different infrared options, underwater filters, and even anti-laser filters, whatever that may be. Now, a couple of things about these that are really great that didn't really occur to me first off. I was just thinking about keeping debris out is that if you have, let's say like an ultra wide angle lens or like a 14 to 24, that kind of thing, often those lenses with a bulbous front element don't allow you to attach a filter. So this lets you use filters on any of them when you need an ND or a mist or whatever to get that effect when you wouldn't be able to put it on the front of the lens. The other thing is, it's kind of weird to say, but it's a one size fits all. So I've installed it in the camera, and now all of my lenses get the benefit of that. And when I was shooting for this 50mm, for example, I have 82mm front filter thread, 62mm front filter thread, and even a 46. So if I wanted to have a mist or an infrared or a neutral density for each of them, I would need 3 different filters, and then actually screwing on and off, I find I'm more likely to get a filter misaligned and then kind of get stuck, and that's more of an issue and a fiddly job than actually installing this one is. Now that I'm comfortable with installing it, it's really quick to take in and out. And to be honest, I think I will leave it in whenever I'm shooting out on location and changing lenses, but maybe take it out if I know that I'm going to be in studio in a low dust environment for an extended period of time, or if I'm not changing lenses. But given that I'm not noticing a degradation in image quality, there isn't really a downside to leaving it in. I would say the only kind of negative per se about these guys is the initial wary or awkward feeling that I had about installing it. So I would say give yourself a few minutes to try and do it a couple of times to get used to it. Keep in mind that, on my Z8, I can close the sensor shield anyway. Not all the cameras have that, but some of them do now, so that's an extra little bonus. But keep in mind that your sensor is already covered by glass, so it's not like you're actually millimeters away from the bare photo sites. And the other thing is, the filter is bigger than the size of the sensor, or the sensor opening even. It sits kind of outside of that. So you would have to be coming in at a really particular angle to actually get the sensor clip-in filter to hit the sensor. And on the Nikon that's the case, but then with something like the Canon or Fuji where they're kind of a circular shape, it's like a manhole cover, and you would really have to be trying to find an angle where it's going to be able to get in there and make contact. So with a little bit of care, even someone like me is able to do it in a safe way to a point that now I feel comfortable taking in and out. And as I say, it's probably a less fiddly job than putting on a traditional screw-on filter. So check them out, folks. If you're like me and regularly changing lenses in the field, it's just that extra layer of protection to stop having anything get into your camera. And if you find that it did, you can use all your normal steps of using a rocket blower or a cleaner, that kind of thing, to clean that off. And if it's anything more stubborn than that, you can just pop in, grab your removal tool, take the sensor shield out, give it a nice clean off, use all of your best equipment away from the camera in a safe environment, then reinstall it before you head back out into the field. So in my mind, a nice piece of insurance and the best step you can take to help keep your sensor clean. Full details below.